does money buy happiness? That's the topic today. It's an interesting one. It's one we've all heard kind of asked or proposed. We've all pondered at different points in our lives. Can more money really make us happier? Or is there more to happiness than just what's in your bank account? I guess our kind of focus, our take on it is that money certainly can buy a level of happiness and comfort, but more than anything, it comes down to how we manage it through, it's ultimately just how we manage it that determines whether money will contribute to our long-term happiness. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is just kind of explore the relationship between money and happiness, understand the limits of money's impact on our happiness, on our well-being, and then talk about some practical strategies to find the balance there between those two things.
Yeah. So, I mean, the age-old question, I mean, it's nothing new that people have, not explored at this point, but like, does money buy happiness? Well, it's kind of like a yes and no kind of answer, I think. I hate to take the balanced approach because like in our day and age, in our world, it's like, money buys happiness. You have to be like black and white. And it's like, it's not quite so simple. That said, yes, it buys happiness, but also no, it doesn't buy happiness. In the sense that more money can reduce stress and anxiety by covering essential needs like housing and food and, healthcare, clothes on your back, things like that, which do contribute to a baseline level of happiness. But like after a certain point, in fact, research actually shows this, that after a certain income level, often it's, somewhere in that like 75,000, 90,000 per year kind of threshold, the correlation between money and happiness actually starts to diminish. And so really, once you've met those basic needs, you can't really buy happiness beyond that. I think, maybe honestly, maybe we should like define what happiness really is. Do you think, what's your take on that?
Yeah. It's, we could get super philosophical with that. I guess when I think of happiness, I more so think of the word contentment. And for me, it's like, I'm happy if I'm not constantly longing for more or constantly longing for something else. If I can truly say that I am just content with where me and my family are, of course, more is always better. I'll take more,
Sure.
but I'm not longing and aching for something more than I'm happy, at least in a financial sense.
Sure. Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. And really it's like, at what, and really you have to ask this question, at what point, if you're not happy with your income right now, at what point will you be happy? Is it 10,000 more? Is it 50,000 more? Is it 100,000 more? Is it 1,000,000 more? The answer is you're never going to escape the hamster wheel, right?
If you're looking to money as that ultimate fulfillment, then the target will always change. You'll never
exactly.
Satisfied. Yeah.
And the reality is there's always going to be somebody who has more than you. And so you can't always compare yourself to the Joneses, so to speak, keeping up with the Joneses. It's like there's always going to be somebody who, has the nicer car, has the bigger house, has the other toy, has the second house, has the helicopter. It's like somebody's always got more than you, unless you're like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, But the reality is that money is more of a tool than it is a destination. And so while money can improve life circumstances, it doesn't automatically create this deep, lasting happiness that I think a lot of people have this misconception for, where if I get more, then I will be happy. It's just not true. Why don't you talk about the role of community in financial happiness, and kind of how, since that's, really what we are desiring to build is a community around healthy financial habits. Talk about that for a minute. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, even just separated from money, the idea of strong, deep social connections, community support, and family relationships have a much higher, this is not, we're not just pulling this, out of nowhere. This is like, statistically proven, scientifically proven that like those sorts of relationships and connections have a much higher correlation with happiness and fulfillment and joy than money does alone. And so, while money can bring us temporary pleasures, meaningful relationships can bring real sustained happiness, real sustained contentment. And so knowing that and recognizing that, how do we correlate those two things? How do we bring those two things together? Because that's what you said, that's what we're hoping to do with Money Mavericks. This whole, every conversation we've had is intended to revolve around community, to push you guys to community. So if the community is what's most important for our contentment, happiness, how do we bring those two together? And that's truthfully, just to give, the listeners kind of some insight, like that was the burden for Josh and I as we set out to create Money Mavs, was that we felt like there's communities for everything, but there's not really communities for people to just get together and talk about money. And so we want to merge those two things. So what are some of the things we're hoping to accomplish in this, I guess?
Yeah, really, really quick. Just 3 quick tips: sharing financial goals, learning from each other. And really what it comes down to is just being okay with your financial situation. And especially here in America, there's this weird, you don't talk about finances, you talk about everything else, right? But you won't talk about finances for whatever reason. It's like really taboo, And so, yeah, sharing financial goals, learning from each other, and being okay with airing some of the areas that financially that you are falling short, be it spending habits, be it income levels, be it, you're not investing enough, whatever it might be. It really comes down to just be okay with being uncomfortable talking about some difficult financial sort of situations that you might be in. And really this comes down to accountability and keeping financial decisions aligned with long-term happiness. This is why, married couples are actually shown to make more, not just because maybe you have 2 incomes, but because they're on the same page about finances and moving in the same direction together. Here's, I'm going to really quick go over, why don't you go over just a few quick ways to build accountability, maybe if you're not married.
Yeah. I was going to say, coming from someone who is I can attest to that that is Katie, my wife, is probably one of my best financial accountability partners, because we both have goals. We both have a trip we want to go on. We both have, things we want to accomplish, and it really helps us keep each other in check. But again, not everybody's married. And so how do you begin to do that? Right. It's as simple as partnering with some kind of friend. Find a friend that has the same goals that you have, the same desire and the drive that you have. Find somebody you look up to. Find a financial mentor that you can go to and say, hey, will you teach me? Will you just kind of coach me in this process? Or even just as a part of our Discord, participating in some kind of challenge, right? Debt or savings group challenges where we're pushing each other to be and staying motivated and accountable. And so really use your creativity, but it's finding somebody.
Yeah. And we make it sound like it's a lot easier than it really is. We get it that it's uncomfortable. And at some if you want a different result, you have to do something different. And so you have to just rip the Band-Aid off and move forward into an uncomfortable situation if you do want something. And really what we're talking about here is this really comes down to discipline and doing things that are uncomfortable, though you need to do them. That's really all discipline is doing something when you don't feel like it, but knowing you need to do it nonetheless because it's the best for you. And money isn't everything, but discipline is the key to using it well. So how do you build financial discipline? Number 1, just set clear financial goals. Write them down, have them on a sticky note, put them somewhere where you're going to regularly see them so you know what you're working towards. Number 2, track spending for greater awareness. Look at your bank statements every once in a while. If you're only looking at your bank account once or twice a month, that's an issue. If you don't know what's coming in and going out, that's an issue. Number 3, focus on consistent habits. And again, this really comes down to that discipline of developing something that you are doing on a consistent basis, knowing that, hey, I may not want to do this, but I am going to do it because I have chosen to do it ahead of time, so that even when I don't feel like it, I already chose to do it beforehand.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things that is just always kind of struck me is how you can pretty quickly, without even knowing somebody's financial decisions or situation, you could pretty well guess somebody's financial situation just based on spending some time with them and figuring out what their kind of personal values are, the way that they function, whether or not they treat money as an end all be all. And that's where just like even that idea of discipline, like you can learn pretty quickly, hey, is this a disciplined person? And the point in saying that is that like our personal values that we hold tend to reflect onto our financial behaviors. And so, like, for instance, if you have a personal value of gratitude, right? If you have a deep innate sense of gratitude where you are, able to focus on what you do have and be grateful for it rather than consistently and seeking more, always looking for what's out there. That could be a key indicator of where you're going to fall financially and what your habits are going to be, and ultimately what determines your happiness. Do you choose contentment, like we said earlier, contentment over consumerism? And that's what like constantly pursuing material wealth ultimately just leads to dissatisfaction, because there's always going, like you said, there's always going to be something more. And so rather choosing to be content with what you have can lead to a happier, more fulfilled life. So it almost, it just a mindset shift, right? Like, and talk to me a little bit about that mindset shift.
Yeah. So, man, I honestly like love everything you're saying, because like that whole mindset shift from like being grateful for what you do have, as opposed to always wanting what you don't have, or which really what we're talking about is contentment versus consumerism. It really is just a mindset shift. And I get it that it's challenging, but you have to make that shift from like, I have everything that I need. Full stop. Right there, right? Like I have everything that I need. If I really start getting more, is that actually going to make me happy? Well, the reality is the answer is no. The answer is no. I mean, you could talk to, like, you've heard the stories before where it's like, somebody's on their deathbed and it's like, they don't wish they had more things, right? They wish they had spent more time with the people who were closest to them. The reality is that finances are a reality. And so we want to help people with the finances, but we have to bathe it within this reality that more is not going to make you happier at the end of the day. Now, at the same time, mindset shift from like scarcity to abundance, and adopting this abundance mindset where you see wealth as more than just financial, and counting the blessings in health and relationships and personal growth. Those kind of things, almost like, I guess, like immaterial, intangible things, really are what produce true happiness in your life. And finances is just one, like we said earlier, it's a tool, it's one piece in all of that, but it's not the end all, it's not the destination. And so like you said, Dylan, practicing gratitude. I mean, I journal not every single morning, frankly, but many more mornings than not, I journal. Okay. And I always write down something I'm grateful for. Could be something super small, like I'm grateful for the desk that I have, I mean, it's silly, but well, not to me, because I'm grateful for it. I love it. But like silly things like that, all the way to, hey, I'm really grateful for the relationships that mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
So
and
even just
as
practicing simple things like that.
Yeah. And as we kind of close up this conversation, like highlighting the whole idea of like, what does it mean to be a money map? Why do we create that name, and why do we come up with this community? To be a money map is to be somebody who thinks differently about money. And so in this topic, in regards to happiness, what that means is that we need to understand the limits of money, the importance of a balance, and how to cultivate a balanced financial approach to happiness.
So good.
Understand the limit that money has in controlling your happiness. As you said, understand it as a tool for opportunities, not as a pathway to happiness. avoiding the money trap, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be a money mav is to be someone who's not just chasing after more money without clear intention, because that just can lead
Right.
to burnout and stress, and understanding as well the importance of, as we've talked about, gratitude. When you're grateful for what you have, ultimately, I think that leads to generosity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Money as a tool that can help others, giving and contributing to things, and sacrificing portions of our finances, even when we feel like we may not have enough, can really change our entire worldview and approach to money. So, I mean, as we close this up, give me your kind of final thoughts on cultivating that balanced financial approach.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you find that sweet spot, right? And it really is a balance that you kind of always have to manage. It's always a tension that's going to exist. And so kind of figuring out where that sweet spot is. One simple tip, just live below your means while still enjoying life. Invest in what matters, right? Invest in the things that matter most. People, right? Not to get like preachy or anything like that, but truly, people are what matter more than things. And like, if we're going to really think differently about money, we have to have that mindset, less of I'm going to use people to get ahead, and more, I'm going to use how I have gotten ahead to help other people. And that's really how a community is built, where we're spurring each other on and encouraging other people to move in the direction that maybe we have been, and helping other people with a helping hand up. So anyways, like, I don't want to, get too deep in that road or anything, but, as we've said, money can contribute to happiness, but really it's how you manage it through building community,
That's right.
staying accountable with others, and practicing discipline that really makes a difference. Any closing thoughts, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, we just invite you to come become a money map, come be a part of our community, and come join a group of people who are committed to reflecting on our financial decisions, to be aware of how
Love
we're
it.
using our money, and to set goals together, and to kind of share, that path and journey together. We do invite you, if you're kind of watching this on YouTube or another social media platform, comment one financial goal that you have that is connected, that you've connected to happiness, and maybe how that's positively or negatively impacted you. And then just come join our community. Come jump in and become a money map.